Welcome back to the Midnight Mystery Archive. Episode 11 turned the series forward. It asked what it would take. It named the tools, the barriers, the institutional changes, and the human decisions that could still move this case. And now we're coming up on the end. Episode 12, the finale, is going to be different from everything that has come before it. And I want to tell you how it's structured before you get there, because it deserves to be approached on its own terms. It's going to be in two parts. Part 1 is a synthesis, 11 episodes of documented record, first-hand witness accounts, sourced analysis, primary government documents, and the most careful editorial standard I know how to apply, compressed into the clearest picture the evidence allows. Not a recap, not a list, more of a diagnosis. Here's what the series established. Here is what it could not establish. Here is where the evidence points and what it cannot confirm. And here is what the record, taken in full, tells us about what happened to Amy Bradley. Part 2 belongs to the family. Iva, Ron, and Brad. 28 years of searching and advocacy and what it's looked like from where they stand. What they want people to understand. What they are still asking for. And it closes where the series began. Before Amy was a case, Amy was a person. The last words in this series are about Amy, not the mystery, not the evidence, not the institutions that failed her, the person. And that's the finale. 2 parts, the end of a series, and one question that has been open for 28 years and deserves finally to be answered. Now, before we get there, there may be one more significant moment in this series before that finale lands. I can't confirm it yet, but if things come together the way I hope they will, listeners to this podcast are going to hear a voice that they have never heard on the record before. Someone with direct, documented involvement in Amy's case. Someone whose role this series has touched on briefly, but whose own account of that role has never been told. If it happens, it will be the most significant interview this podcast and series has produced. I'll say more when I can. Watch our social media. You'll find it there first. 2 other things before I let you go. The Midnight Mystery Archive is now on Patreon, and I want to take a moment to explain what that really means, because I don't want it to feel like a routine ask at the end of an episode. This podcast is over a year old. My work on this series began about 7 months ago, and it's not the kind of work that looks like work from the outside. It's the kind that happens at 11 o'clock at night when the episode you've been building for 3 weeks still isn't exactly right. It's the research, the sourcing, the interviews, the editing, the verification calls, the decisions about what to include and what to leave out. It's been 11 episodes, Witness Wednesdays, mini episodes, primary government documents, the physics of a balcony, the language in a Barbados restroom, a blue-faced watch that was never supposed to be public knowledge. None of that has a price tag, but it does have a cost: time. The resource that disappears fastest when you're doing 3 things at once. And Patreon is how this work continues beyond the Amy Bradley series. And to give you a glimpse, I've already got the rest of 2026 planned out. We have a summer series that will take us around the world, covering cases that are maybe well known in their local country, but are lesser known here in the United States, but just as important. And then our second long-form series, which will launch this fall and is tentatively titled The Lies, Crimes, and Times of Henry Lee Lucas. If you know anything about Henry Lee Lucas, it'll be a wild story. But more importantly than that, there were a lot of cases that he confessed to, many of which turned out to be false confessions, and we're going to shine a light on some of those cases that remain open in hopes that that light can help bring answers to families who thought they once had answers only to find out that the real murderer was running free. There are 3 tiers with our Patreon. It starts at $5 a month, and what you might get is things like early access to episodes, extended interview content, and behind-the-scenes production notes from someone who has been doing this work in public now for well over a year and intends to keep doing it. The link is in the show notes, and if this series has been worth your time, and so many of you have told me that it has been, it would mean so much to know it's worth $5 a month. And finally, Echo 1953. As I mentioned, I sent advanced reader copies out about 3 weeks ago, and I'm now starting to get some of the reviews back. And I want to share what they're saying because some of it has, frankly, stopped me dead in my tracks. When you write a novel, when you really write anything and you put it in front of somebody that is not you, you don't really know what you're going to get in response. Well, one reader who's outside the US emailed me personally and said that they were absolutely gutted by the ending of the story, that being left on such a cliff edge was brutal, and in their words, how cruel to inflict such a trauma on this reader. They also said something that matters to me more than a star rating. They told me that they sometimes struggle with American fiction because of colloquial language that doesn't translate for international readers, and they mentioned that Echo 1953 avoided that the writing proved to them that the work would be as well received internationally as it will be domestically. Now, this series has been downloaded in over 100 countries now. The idea that the book might reach that same international audience that Midnight Mystery Archive listeners in the UK and Australia and Ireland and in places I've never been might pick up Eli and Mari's story and feel at home with it, that means something to me that I can't fully put into words. As a reminder, Echo 1953 launches July 27, 2026. It is available for pre-order on Amazon right now. The link is in the show notes. And if you've been with this series, you already understand what drives this kind of story. I hope you'll give it a chance. As a reminder, we've got Witness Wednesday coming up Wednesday. We've got part 1 of episode 12 this Friday. If you have information about Amy Bradley's disappearance, contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov. Tips can be submitted anonymously, and the FBI reward is now $100,000. As a reminder, during the full run of this series, 100% of commissions through our Invisaware Personal Safety Partnership go directly to the Bradley family's GoFundMe. Links are in the show notes, along with Amy Bradley is Missing and the Amy Alerts petition. Until next time.